Hey everyone, Stephen Glicker here from Roll for Combat, and I have an update with our issues with Diamond and if they're going to be able to liquidate all of our products in their warehouse to pay off their debts. And believe it or not, there might be a slightly positive outlook on what looked like a super grim case last week. So, a few updates. First of all, I do want to thank everyone who's come out to support us, who's been buying our products at battlezoo.com, who has been checking out our brand new Patreon, which you can get at patreon.rollforcombat.com, where we actually give you some behind the scenes looks of how TTRPG books are constructed and built. And we actually just did a big post on how we do our artwork for our books. So do check that out if you want to learn more about the industry and talk to myself and Mark Seifter on a regular basis. Now, I'm not going to recap everything that's happened because I have a video from last week that you can check out and see exactly what happened. And there's been many, many articles that have come out in the news about it. The gist is that Diamond and their bank, Chase Bank, is trying to take everything in their warehouse and liquidate it to pay off their debts. And I believe it's somewhere like 30 to $33 million that is owed. So they're trying to take that, liquidate it, and just get their money back. But there's a couple of issues that both myself and my lawyer have figured out in the last week. First of all, they went Chapter 11. Okay, they didn't go out of business. That's the first issue. Second of all, they were sold. They being Diamond. So Diamond was sold. I think it was for $72 million. So there's money to pay off those debts. That's what the money is going towards. It wasn't just sold and people get to keep it. They're going to use that to get out of Chapter 11 and to pay off the debts. So it seems like, why are they selling books for pennies on the dollar to just get a little bit extra money when they could just use some of the money that was, to buy out the company? The main thing that we're looking at is when they declared bankruptcy. So, give you a quick update is that when Diamond declared bankruptcy, I believe it was January 16th, I believe is the day, is that everything in their warehouse, they're arguing as of that date, they can take and liquidate and use to pay off debt. So that's their big argument. And unfortunately, there is a lot of case law on this that pretty much supports that. For example, when Borders went out of business, when Tower Records went out of business, when Sports Authority went out of business, when any of those companies went out of business, most of their inventory was consignment and it was used to pay off debts. It was all liquidated. They didn't get any of it back if they didn't secure it. And, there's just lots of precedence on this. However, there's one big difference is that those companies went out of business and they never came back. This is Chapter 11. And after they declared Chapter 11, Diamond continued to still do business as usual. I was still having meetings with them. I was still sending them new product. They're still selling my product. Heck, they were even sending me checks on a weekly basis for products they were selling. In fact, I just got a sales report last week. They're still sending me sales reports every single week showing me how much they're selling my products for and how much money they're making. So they're continuing to do work. On top of that, they continue to get new products in their warehouse. They're getting new books. New books are coming in. New books are going out. They're sending books out to stores. They're sending out their previews magazine. Like, they're still in business. I was still meeting with them. I'm still getting emails promoting my and other people's products. So that is the tricky part. And the crux of one of our many positions is that you can't mix and match inventories that were pre Chapter 11 and post Chapter 11, because now you're in business. You're still doing business. You don't have any right to any of those products after the Chapter 11 bankruptcy, especially if you're continuing to still do business and you're expecting to do business. So you can't just take everything and just say, oh, yeah, by the way, we're just taking everything. Everything in the warehouse is ours now. Even after Chapter 11, it's just ours. No, that's not how it actually works. So we have been talking to some people. Our argument appears to be pretty strong. We actually have several other arguments that we won't get into right now. I'll talk to you more about it later. And we're going to find out a lot more because the hearing to go through this is on July 21st. Just to give you an idea of how nefarious this was, because they being Chase gave the comic book companies and myself barely a month to respond, which is nothing in the world of legalese. July 21st is the start of Comic-Con. So what do you expect all those people are going to be doing? No one's going to be around. They're all going to be busy. They're all going to be at Comic-Con. It's the absolute worst date of the year for them to do something like this. And that's the day they chose. This is pretty common. If you remember the whole OGL thing way back when, that was happening over the period of Christmas to New Year's where people had to respond. So, lawyers coming out and having people get their paperwork in right before a big event or a huge holiday, pretty common. We will have a lot more news and information in the upcoming weeks. And once again, if you are out there and you are actually part of this 128 companies that are going up against Diamond, please reach out to me, as my lawyer will be happy to speak to any of your lawyers. I do not right now have the means nor a sizable amount of potential loss to go after Diamond myself, because I'm actually probably one of the smallest fish in this pond. And also, I just want everyone to know that no, we're not going out of business. Diamond only had a very tiny portion of my overall inventory. It's not affecting my Kickstarters. It's not affecting our day-to-day operations. It's just basically a loss of products that I really would like to get back. In fact, if things were on a better note, I would have been happy to keep working with Diamond, but it doesn't look like they really want to work with us. And obviously, doesn't look like we can trust them anymore if they're going to just declare they own everything of ours and just sell it at willy-nilly whenever they want. And more importantly, they're still selling stuff now, and I'm not getting any checks for it. I'm not getting any residuals, nothing. But I get the reports showing how great they're doing. Kind of disheartening. Anyhow, I'll have more information. Do see me at Gen Con. If you're going to Gen Con, I will be there. The Roll for Combat booth. It's going to be right in the back, in the middle. So right in the middle of the convention hall, in the back. We're going to have amazing prizes, giveaways. You haven't seen a booth until you've seen the Roll for Combat booth. That's all I'm going to say. You think you've seen booths before? When you see ours, you're going to put it this way. I used to go to every single E3, and I learned a lot about booth design going to E3, because E3 had the craziest booths in the history of the world. And I'm doing a couple things I learned from E3. That's all I'm saying. So you're going to really enjoy the booth. So check that out. Do check us out at battlezoo.com. Do check out our Patreon. And more importantly, July 22nd, one day after the hearing for this Diamond is coming out, we are coming out with our big Shadowdark RPG Kickstarter at shadowdark.rollforcombat.com, where we're coming out with a whole bunch of new books for Shadowdark. And we've been working on these for over a year. We're actually working with the assistant librarian, Kelsey Dion's right-hand man, Michael, who's going to be helping us out in writing these books. So check that out. And we have a massive surprise. Massive. You won't even believe it. For those of you who are regular in TTRPG communities, all I'm going to say is you're going to be shocked when you see what we're going to announce. Anyhow, do stick with the channel, do subscribe, and I'll keep you up to date as we learn more. But with that, thank you all for your support, and I will see and talk to you later.